this is the quantity. We can we have some non-value. I think that's the only problem in this one. So I can remove the empty values, those null. So I filtered it out. So I filtered out the null values. So we have the ones that have normal figures. So this quantity, the data type is numbers. Then we have the unit price. We have the unit price. The data type is okay. There's no error. But this sales amount, there's an issue. The sales amount is supposed to be a multiplication of the quantity and the price. But if we cross check, we're having issues. This is 30,000. Meanwhile, if you multiply 2 by 25,000, we should have 50K. So this sales amount column, there's an issue with this sales amount column. There's an issue with this sales amount column. So and it also has some empty value. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to calculate another column. I'm going to calculate another column that is sales amount. So I will create another column. So in that new column is going to be multiplication of this unit price and quantity. So if I go to my home, if I go to my home, there is I will go to add column. Then I'll go to custom column here. So if I go to custom column, it's going to ask me what's the name of the column I want to add, so I can say um let's say sales calculated. So now the custom formula is going to be of course the units, the quantity, insert, multiply by the unit price. So I will insert. So if I click on OK, I should have another column that says sales calculated, which is going to be the product of quantity and unit price. So if I click OK, I have another column now. This is a newly calculated sales column. So the data type is wrong. I'm going to change the data type to number, integer or number. So I've changed the data type and I've calculated. So this sales amount, this column, we don't need this column. I can remove this column. We don't need this column. So all my data cleaning steps is showing here. So we've calculated the new column. We've we have our unit price, our quantity. We've cleaned our product, transaction dates, the customer ID, and the transaction ID. So one thing I want to check is for this dimensions table, there is a mistake. The mistake is that Power BI is reading the column header as part of the starting data with the rows. Meanwhile, this customer name, gender, and region should be at the top. It should be the column headings. So if I highlight and I select top, if I go to home, I will click on use first rows as headers. If I click on use first rows as headers, so it makes the first row now, it makes them the header. So my customer ID is now the first, is now the header. The customer name is now the header. The gender is now the header, and the region is now the header. So if I check through, I think this data is okay. We have male and female. We have different customer name, customer ID, and region. So one thing I want to check is I want to check if all my customer ID that is here, if it's also the same as the ones that are here. So I want to compare the customer ID and make sure that all the customers that are in my fact sales table are also in my dimensions table. So if I go to merge, if I am on my fact sales now, if I go to merge, I'll go to merge queries. So it's going to tell me where do I want to merge. Let me click on this dim customers. So I want to merge on the customer ID and the customer ID. So can you see? I think there's a problem. It's telling us that 24 out of 26, 24 out of 26. So that means there are some customer ID that are in that fact sales table that are not in the dimensions table. If I click on left anti rows, rows only in first, if I click on this and I click on OK, you see these two customer ID. You see this customer ID, cost, this is the one that is not there. This one, this CUST 9999 is in the fact sales, but it's not in the dimension table. It's not in the dimension table. That's why we have problem. So what I'm going to do is, since I already know the customer now that is um that is in the fact sales table, but it's not in dimension table, I'm going to filter out this customer. I'm going to filter out this customer. If I go back, if I cancel this merge query step and I go back to this customer ID, I will filter out that particular customer. So I will filter out this customer, cost 9999. So I don't want that customer because that customer is not in my dimensions table, but it's showing up in my fact sales table. So I think we are good to enter now. I think I can close and apply and go into my Power BI page. Are we still together?
Yes, I'm hearing us.
Okay, okay, you can meet back. So now I think the data is okay now. All the data types are okay. I can close and apply. If I close and apply, it's going to load this data set. It's going to load the two data sets into Power BI. It's loading. So yeah, my data is loaded. So my data is loaded. Now, before I start doing my visualization, let me go to this model view. As I said, this is a report view. table view. Then these are model view. These are model view. So I think Power BI is automatically connected the two tables. Now can you see now we have the connection we have now is from this customer ID. If I click on this connection, it's connecting the customer ID on the fact sales table to the customer ID on the dimensions table. If this connection is not there, if I visualize, I'm going to have issues with my visualization. Sure you get, if that connection is not there, I'm going to have issues with my visualization. So the okay, let me explain something here. I want to explain the kind of modeling that we have in this one now. We have, if you check on this fact sales table, you are seeing like an asterisk and you are seeing one here. So this is saying many to one relationship. In Power BI, under data model, we have different types of relationship. We can have many to one, like we have here. We can have one to one. Then we can have many to many relationship. What many to one relationship means is that the customer ID that is connecting from here to here is appearing, is probably appearing more than one on this fact sales table, but it's appearing only once on this dimensions table. It's appearing only once on this dimensions table. It's probably appearing like more than once on this fact sales table, but it's appearing. So whatever is connected to is it has duplicates on this fact sales table. Basically, that's why it is many to one. Assuming it is one to one, that means it is only one replicate of that data that is there and only one. There's no replicate for that data. It's showing up once here and showing up once here. And if it is many to many, that means one data point from here is connecting to many points here, and also one point here is connecting to many points on this end. An example of many to many is like if we have two tables and we have a list of students on one table and courses and list of courses on the other table and list of courses on the other table. I think somebody wants to join the call. And list of courses on the other table. So if you have is a table that has students and another table that has the courses, it's possible that one student is taking many courses, and it's also possible that a course is being taken by many students. So do you get now? That means a student can connect to many points on another table, and a course can connect to many points on the student table. So that is many to many relationship, unlike many to one, one to one. Most of the time, if you are working, what you'll be working with the most is going to be one to many relationship. That's the most popular. Many to many relationship is for advanced modeling. That's for advanced, and you have to be very careful. So since we have our data model, I can go to my report view. My report view is where I build my visualization. So now, since I've already cleaned my data. Now I can start. Sorry about the background noise. I can start working on my visualizations now. Let's say I want to do, I have my two tables. I want to do sales by region now. Sales by region. So I want to see how the region with the most sales. If I pick my, let's say I pick my cluster column chart, then I will drag my region into my, let me drag my region into my x-axis. So as I was saying, I will drag my region into my x-axis. Then for my y-axis, let me drag my sales into my y-axis. Now I have sales by region. I have sales by region. That means so now I can see the region with the most sales, right? I think southeast is the region with the most sales, so they are doing fairly well. One thing is on this y-axis where we have sum of sales. If I click on this down, I can choose to either do the sum or do the average. So if I'm compounded by the sum, so that's it, sum of the sales for each region. If I want to do it by the average, if I click on average, it's going to do it by the average. I think southeast is still leading. So the reason why I'm saying that is that sometimes doing the sum may not be the proper metric for whatever you're trying to see. So sometimes average is the best measure. It's just like if you have, for example, you have schools and you have reading time per student in that school. So you want to find out maybe a school that read the most, right? You want to find out a school that read the most. If you do some, it may not be reflective of what you're trying to do or what you're looking for. So it should be, I would advise in that kind of case you do average, the average reading time. So that means on average the students read by so amount. So that is a proper judging metric for that. So in this case, but in this one, we are dealing with um, calculated sales. So if we use some, I think it makes sense because we are dealing with value. And if we also use average, at least on average, I think it also makes sense. But then either some or average, it shows that Southeast is leading. It's just that it's closed up the margin a little. So that's one visualization. For those that are just joining us, we started quite back and we've done data cleaning, we've done data modeling. So we are just on visualization. The class will soon be over anyways. So that's for that. I can also decide to, okay, I want to see for my gender now, which gender is the most, is it male or female? I can decide to use pie chart for that. If I click on my pie chart, if I click on my pie chart, so I can drag this gender into, if I drag gender into this legend. So the legend is, if you are familiar with a map, legend is those stuffs at the bottom that indicates what the things on the map means. So I want to see the proportions of male to female. So I've already dragged my gender into legends. I also drag it into value field. So I also drag it into value field. So it shows the proportion. This is deeper blue is the male obviously. So the count of gender for male is 8, for female is 7. So I can start to check for I can start to check for who buys the most between the male and female also. Who buys the most? Maybe I should use a donut chart. Should I use a donut chart for that? Let's see. Let me use a donut chart. Or I should use a column chart. Okay, let me see a donut chart. So most of the time on your dimension table is most of the time is going to be text, not where you have your facts, where you have your numbers, it's going to be on a facts table. There are different properties. Maybe in another class, I will discuss properties of a dimension table and a facts table. Dimension table is just it tells you the characteristics. I want to see the people that buy the most now. Let's say the sales calculated. I think the male buys more than the female. So whatever product you are selling, okay. I think we have products. We can do a visualization using a product now. So we have three categories of products. Let's see. Um, let's see. Let's say a star column chart. I want to do. I want to see products. Should we do region by products or gender by products? Let me do gender. Let's do products here. Okay. I don't want that. Let me do my customer ID by my products. So this is giving count. It's counting the products bought by each of those customers. Of course, you know the customers that buy the most. This particular person is always buying stuff. So this is just to explain how visualization is done. So by the time I click on the visual I want to use, I drag in the data into the X and the Y axis. The Y axis most of the time being the value, representing the value. The other, if I want to check for the metric now, so in our visualizations there are some things we call metrics. Metrics is, let's say, the total revenue. So we have the sales calculated. Let's say I want to know the total number of sales. So this is where I want to interpret measures. Just a short class on measure, then I will end the class. It's almost done. So for measures, I can measures we use DAX to create data analysis expression. It's like formulas that we use in Excel. So if I want to create another, I want to calculate the total, all the sales that we made. I want to sum everything. So I want to make it as a metric. So it's going to be on my dashboard there, on my report view. So if I'm on this fact sales table, if I right click, there's going to be new measure. If I click on new measure, so now we have like a bar at this top. This is where I will input my formula. So let's say the name of the measure I want to create is revenue because it's going to sum all the sales together. Let's say revenue now. So it's just like Power BI. I'm going to start with the formula. Sum of what? Sum. Then it's going to ask you for the table. I open my formula. So what I want to sum is on the fact sales table. And I want to sum the fact sales calculated. So this is it here. This thing that is showing me now, like, is like giving me the things I need. Is we call it IntelliSense. So it basically informs, it knows most like what you want to do, so it gives you the complete code. Now I want to find the sum of the sales calculated in the fact sales table. So if I click on this fact sales table, this name is the fact sales table, and this is the column I want to calculate the sum. If I close that bracket and I hit enter, it's going to calculate another measure for me, which is called revenue. So I know the total revenue. To represent this revenue now, I can use the card visualization. If I pick my card, this card, this is my card. If I pick my card and I click on revenue, I want to represent the revenue. So it shows me the total revenue that has been made. So this is 8 million. This is the revenue. This is a metric. This is a metric. If I click on this side, this is for the male. It shows me the amount that the males are contributing. Can you see the dashboard is responsive? And if I click on the female aspect, it shows me how much the females are contributing. to the revenue and across all the other visualizations too, across the regions. So another metric I want to calculate is total quantity. I want to know the total amount of all the quantity that we sold. If I right click on this, I will create a new measure. So I will call it total quantity now. Total quantity. So it's going to be sum of the factors table, the quantity column. So I'm going to close this. If I enter, it will create another measure for me, which is the total quantity. I can represent that with my card visual also. These are metrics. So I will click on my quantity. So if I want to know the amount of quantity that is sold by a particular region now, if I click on if I click on a region, Southeast, it filters that can you see the way it's filtering across my table? 11 quantity, 2 million contribution in revenue. This particular customer is from Southeast. So it breaks it down for me. So this is you can also call it the dashboard. By the time you're having a report and you're building a visualization, you can start that's basically what makes up your dashboard. You build your representation. So I will be ending the class at this point for this night. So we've talked about data cleaning, we did data cleaning, we did modeling, I talked about the different types of modeling that we have. I talked about what I just did is introduction to DAX. It's just like writing your formula in Excel. So if you are conversant very well with some formulas in Excel, there are more complex DAX, of course, but then it becomes easier. Then we've talked about building our visualization. I'm going to stop here for tonight so we can all go. So is there anybody that has any question?